All right, you're welcome back. John Giles is with us on the football show. We'll talk about the start of the new Premier League season tomorrow evening in just a moment. But John, the big story in world football is that Lionel Messi has left Barcelona and has signed for Paris Saint-Germain. This, in the end, ended up coming out of the blue because it looked as though Messi was going to commit his future to Barcelona, but because they're in such financial crisis, the deal couldn't happen, and it's all moved quite quickly, and he's going to be a Paris Saint-Germain player for next season. What have you made of it all?
Well, it was a surprise, Nathan. I heard his speech the other day when he was moving in, and I got the impression that he was disappointed that Barcelona didn't do more to keep him. Yeah. I don't know the details, Nathan. I know it was a money situation, but I definitely got the impression that that something could have been done.
Yeah, it does seem as though they were in such massive financial debt because of the deals they've done over the last few years that even if they had tried pretty much everything, they had left themselves in such a position that they couldn't afford Messi. That even if they sold all the players they want to sell, which just shows what a mess it is behind the scenes at Barcelona. And it clearly you could see from the tears that he most definitely didn't want to leave. But
no.
Even
I wonder, Nathan, could they have done something to make it a longer contract or a contract after he finished playing?
Yeah, definitely initially there was talk of that it was going to be a 5-year deal and maybe can go elsewhere at the end of that, but La Liga obviously decided they were going to put their foot down and weren't going to let them do anything. So it's the end of I guess the greatest footballing relationship we've ever seen between Lionel Messi and Barcelona. In terms of what Paris Saint-Germain are getting at 34, are they still getting the best player in the world?
Probably, Nathan. I mean, there's never been any mention of Messi slowing up or not being able to do it or getting tired. I haven't heard anything about that. He just wasn't playing in as good a team as he had played over the years in Barcelona. So he seems to be a very, very fit guy and obviously has the right attitude. I've never seen him in Barcelona where he wasn't doing his best, and I didn't see or hear anything during the year where he wasn't doing it or he wasn't fit. He's 34, Nathan, and he's looked after himself well, as we know. I mean, he wouldn't be doing what he's doing. So I think I know he was very, very disappointed in leaving Barcelona, but for his footballing career, I think this could be maybe the best thing happened to him.
Why?
Well, he's been at Barcelona a long time. They're not the Barcelona they were. And I think for a player who's been there for a long time, you're inclined to take it for granted a little bit. Now he's moving he has a new horizons to climb, going to that. So I think it does give you that little bit extra to say, well, I'm going to show everybody now. I'm disappointed I've left Barcelona, but it's new. And he's not playing with bad players, Nathan. He's gone to a big club with a lot of good players in it, as we know. But I think for his football, it could be the best thing. I think family-wise, I think he's very disappointed that he has to leave Barcelona. He's been there for such a long time. But football-wise, it's a new challenge. It's a new game. He has to do it all over again. And I think it could be good for him.
The question in terms of his legacy would be that in going to Paris Saint-Germain, success is almost guaranteed. That he's playing in a team now where they'll have a front three of Kylian Mbappe and Neymar, who are probably two of the other players in the conversation for the best player in the world right now. That anything less than winning the league would be absolute failure, and almost at anything less than winning the Champions League with the talent that they have will be seen as failure. That there's not much to gain from.
But you can't take anything for granted, Nathan. That's for sure. I think if he goes to where he's gone now, Paris Saint-Germain, and he does do some of the things he did and win some of the things, including the Champions League, at Paris Saint-Germain, it would be great for him. There's no doubt. But what I'm saying is, I think it's a boost to play for the new club after doing what he did at Barcelona. I mean, they had one of the great players years ago, Pirlo. I mean, if people listening remember, Pirlo was one of the great midfield players of all time.
Yeah.
And I think he played with AC Milan for years, Nathan. Yeah. He was the top player there. And they let him go to Juventus. And then he had a fabulous career for a short spell at Juventus. Now, would he have played as well at Milan as he would have done? In my own small way, Nathan, I was 12 years at Leeds, and Jimmy Anfield didn't want me. And I went to West Brom as player manager. Now, that was a new challenge. I mean, the year at Jimmy Anfield, I played with Jimmy Anfield, we didn't do anything. We didn't do anything. We didn't win anything at all. We were no good. And I felt, well, that's the way it is. Now, when I went to West Brom as player manager, I had to do it. I had to do it. And I didn't fancy going, Nathan. The family were happy in Leeds, were going to schools and all the various things. But it turned out, to be two of the happiest years of my time playing football, because it was a new challenge.
Yeah.
I had a different attitude, definitely had a different attitude because I was player manager as well at West Brom than I think I would have had under Jimmy Anfield for another couple of seasons if he'd wanted me.
Yeah.
Which he didn't. But anyway, but all I'm saying, it's a new challenge for him, Nathan, football-wise. And I think if they're doing the job the way we think they're going to do it, I think in the long run, after 2 or 3 years, he'll be delighted that has happened.
Yeah. Like, when you left Leeds, like, you got to the European Cup final that year. Like, your last match was in the European Cup final, and I know you didn't win the European Cup final, so you finish up without that trophy. But was there a sense of I need to prove Leeds wrong when you went to West Brom?
No. Jimmy Anfield didn't want me.
Yeah, and you weren't going to West Brom thinking I'm going to, I've been one of Leeds' greatest ever players. He doesn't want me. I'm going to show him what he's missing.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I played my last game for Leeds was the Champions League final.
Yeah.
Right, and I played well in it in a match that we I think we were robbed a bit in it. So, but Jimmy Anfield was that. Jimmy just didn't want me, right? Because we went on holiday and I said, well, to renew my contract. No, but he didn't want me. We got back after the holiday and he rang me and he said, I've come to terms with West Brom. But he actually said, but I don't want you to go. To be honest, now, this was typical Jimmy in my case.
Right.
He was a very popular guy, and he might. But I said, no, I've had enough. I'm going. So of course there was an attitude. I'll prove you wrong.
Yeah.
To do it. And what happened? It happened well for me because when we did get promotion to the First Division. Which was then I don't know whether it was the First Division or not. But anyway, we finished above Leeds that year, West Brom.
And there was a lot of personal satisfaction.
Yeah, it did give me a sport.
Right.
Nathan. Yeah.
And I know we're a long time removed from it now. Like, was that something you would have been thinking of that season when you were looking at the table of, actually, I can't say it publicly at West Brom, but personally, it's a big thing for me to finish above Leeds.
Yeah, well, I didn't have to say it, to be quite honest.
Everyone knew.
It was the league table.
Yeah.
It was the league table, and that was it. And at that time, now the last thing I wanted to do, I've been 12 years at Leeds with the kids going to school and that. The last thing I wanted to do was to move to West Brom. To be quite honest, I didn't know anybody in Birmingham. I didn't know anything. It was a new job altogether. But I felt, well, it's time to do it. I'm fed up. I don't want to go through another year like that. And I did have an attitude. Well, I'll show you.
Right. Who was in the Leeds midfield when you went back up against them?
Actually, when we got promotion at West Brom, the first match of the next season was Leeds at Leeds.
Wow. What was your reaction when you saw that come up?
Billy didn't actually play in the match, but all the other lads, Peter Lorimer, I think Eddie was playing, Norman Hunter, Alan Clark. So there was still quite a lot of players played. But actually, I think that day they bought Tony from Sheffield United. I can't think of his name at the moment. I should be able to think of it. And he was there to replace me, really.
Okay.
And he was making his debut that day. And we got a 2-2 draw. Now, actually, we were 2 up on the day at Leeds that particular day.
And did you leave one on the guy that replaced you?
Tony Curry was the lad's name.
Yeah.
Tony Curry.
Did you leave one on him?
No. Tony was very, very good. They paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. No. You got stuck in on the day. But I'm only making the comparison between the Messi situation. That when I went to Leeds, I probably played better for West Brom, I think, in the 2 years than I would have done at Leeds.
So
because I wasn't getting on very well with Jimmy Anfield anyway.
Yeah.
I think he was glad to see me go, and I wasn't sorry to go. Although I loved the time I had at Leeds.
Yeah. So you think then that even though it seems from the tears that Messi didn't want to leave Barcelona, and despite all he's achieved with the 4 Champions League and the countless La Liga titles, that actually he'll go there still probably feeling he has a point to prove?
Definitely. I think when we look back at after 2 years and when he finishes playing there, Nathan, I think he'll think that that's the best thing I did. At the time when you're doing it, like I was 12 years of leave, the kids at school and all that, I didn't want to move from Leeds. I didn't know anybody in Birmingham. For football reasons, I had to. And there's no doubt after the 2 years, I was delighted that I did it.
Right. It was the right move, yeah.
Yeah, you want to do it. It doesn't do any harm to get that move. I go back to Pirlo when he moved. I don't think he was at Milan for a long time. I think the last thing he wanted to do was move. But when he went and did it. Because you want to show everybody, well, I'm not finished. You know, that's the way you are. I think most footballers are like that. I'm going to show that they made a mistake there.
So that is obviously going to be the big move in terms of world football this year. The big move for English football still hasn't happened. Harry Kane, will he stay at Spurs? Will he go to Manchester City? As luck would have it, it's our live game here on Off the Ball on Sunday on the opening weekend of the Premier League season. The two of them meet at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and the new Spurs manager Nuno is saying that Harry Kane is back in training today and is available for selection. Do you think Nuno should play him?
No.
Right.
No, I'm surprised at Nuno. I'm thinking Nuno, like up to last week, he hadn't even had a chat with Kane.
No.
You know, when you're a manager of a club, you can't have a player like Kane not speak to him and then play him. You know, it doesn't make sense. I'm surprised at Nuno because maybe he's under instruction from Levy, the main man there. Is to say, because I heard him made a few comments where I want him back in the team. Well, the fact is, I mean, everybody want him back in the team, but the situation that's happened here, Harry Kane has gone out on a limb to say I want to leave, and he's the manager. I mean, ultimately, the players are playing. Harry Kane or anybody else is playing for the manager. You know, they're not playing for Levi. So I can't understand where he's coming from and the statements he's making publicly. I mean, the first thing he should have done was get in touch with Harry Kane himself to see what the picture is, see what the story is on that. Because he's the manager. Yeah. How can he not talk to Harry Kane until the last minute and then expect him to play and play well for him? It just doesn't make sense.
But considering Kane's importance, there's no question he is Tottenham's best player, and it's the first game. It's going to be a packed house. The new stadium is going to be full. It's against the champions, the team that he's meant to sign for. That actually, do you not want him out there? Do you not want to show him the love of the Tottenham supporters and show him what he still has if he stays at the club?
But he knows that, Nathan. You know what I mean? He's known that, but he's come out publicly and say, I want to go.
Yeah.
So, what are the other players in the dressing room going to think? You see, when you have a team, Nate, you know team spirit and the morale, right? That's what we talk about a team. Now, that doesn't happen overnight, but it certainly doesn't. Good morale doesn't happen when you have your main player who said publicly and very, very strongly, I want to go. You know, as a manager, I wouldn't have anybody in the dressing room, right, playing for me, that I said, well, I don't want to be here, I want to go.
Do you not give yourself a chance to change his mind? Actually bring him back in, hope that he gets back in the dressing room, feels his importance to the team and to the club, and actually that, if Manchester City don't offer the money that Daniel Levy wants, that you try and reintegrate him and say, it's Harry Kane, best striker in the Premier League, we're happy to have him, and everyone just moves on as if none of this happened.
Well, you can say that as the manager, Nathan. But what's Harry thinking? He's not going to go along with that. If Harry is saying, and he said very, very publicly, I want to go, and I want to go to Manchester City. He's already said that. We all know that. So you can't just put him in the dressing room with the rest of his teammates, and he's going to suddenly say, well, I've changed my mind, lads, I'm not going. That's not going to happen.
So what happens then if Tottenham refuse to sell him and he doesn't leave? Like, would you be worried about his performance levels this season if he ends up staying at Tottenham?
Well, definitely. Definitely. I mean, your heart has to be in it, Nathan. I mean, it's an old saying. Your heart has to be in it. Your heart has to be in Spurs or any team that you're playing in to really have the morale. And he's the main man. He's the captain. He has no relationship with the manager from what we can see. And you expect him then to go out and be the Harry Kane that he was. It's just not possible. Like, to do your best for a football team, Nathan, you have to believe in it. You have to believe in the manager. You have to believe that they're going to do well. This is what you want to do. And Harry has stated publicly in a big way, I don't want to be at Spurs. Now, what are the rest of the lads in the team going to think? Harry's in the dressing room with them. He was captain. I don't know if he'll be captain again. And here's a guy who's a main man, and he doesn't want to be here. It's an impossible situation from the manager's point of view, Nathan. I mean, you either leave him out altogether and see, well, is he in time going to publicly say, privately say, I made a mistake, I want to play for this club, and I'm committing myself to the club. Like, you can't put him in the team until he actually makes that statement.
Right.
Nathan. You just can't. I mean, all the other lads are there. I mean, I think the fellow players now would resent Harry's position.
Right.
He doesn't want to play for us, so we don't want him in the dressing room. We're all together. This is the morale of the team. This is what we have to do.
Yeah.
It's an impossible situation. I can't see him playing. I just can't see him playing and hoping that there'll be some sort of a deal done, because nobody's going to win in this situation. Spurs are not going to win in the situation. Presumably they're paying him at the moment. They haven't suspended him. Harry Kane wants to go to City. City are waiting. I'm amazed. We might have spoken about it last week, Nathan. I'm surprised from Harry's position in the way the players are treated now and have the best legal advice that you can possibly get. That Harry is saying that it was it discussed? What's the word they were using, Nathan? Verbal agreement.
Okay, yeah, that's a gentleman's agreement, basically.
There's a verbal agreement nowadays with footballers, Nathan. Like, if you have the best solicitors, you get it in the contract that Jack Grealish got, right? That if the club comes in with 100 million, which Manchester United did, he's allowed to go. Now, I'm amazed that Harry is saying there was a verbal agreement where they have the best of solicitors, that in the agreement, when he was signing in the 5-year agreement, that a similar situation in the contract as Grealish. In other words, if somebody comes in with 130, 140 million, I'm allowed to go.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting few days. Firstly, as to whether he plays at the weekend, and also to see what happens between now and the end of the transfer window. You mentioned Jack Grealish. Since we last spoke, that deal has gone through. He is the most expensive signing in the history of British football. £100 million. Is he worth it?
Yeah. Well, I think, if he does what he's capable of doing for Manchester City for the next 5 or 6 years, Nathan, then he's worth it.
Like, when you look at the next 5-6 years, if he continues on the trajectory he's been on, do you expect him to become one of the best players in the world? Is that the potential of him?
Yeah, well, I think he has the ability to do it. Now he has to have the mental situation. I saw him in the paper. He's been in the paper recently, where he's delighted with the publicity. He's delighted to be the first £1 million player. Now, my first thought, I don't like that, Nathan.
Why?
It's a bit too cocky. Most players say, well,
you're worth 100 million quid. Of course, you're going to be cocky.
One player and it comes back to I've seen players, Nathan, where big fees, record fees, didn't do very well because the pressure was too much for them. Right? I'd rather see him play it down a little bit. I didn't make the payment. The club made it. It's between them. I'll do my best. All the various things that I think he should be saying. But maybe it's just that cocky lad that it won't bother him. But I'd rather see him go the other way.
Yeah, in terms of...
I'll do my best. There's a lot of money, but I'll certainly do my best for Manchester City on that. Instead of saying, well, I'm delighted with it, I'm delighted with the publicity and all the various things that's going with that. But that's only my old-fashioned way, Nathan.
In terms of where he might fit in to the Manchester City team, they obviously have so much talent. If he plays on the left of the three, as he did with Aston Villa, they have Raheem Sterling and Phil Foden, if they're all fit, potentially in that position. If they play him in midfield, maybe in place of Bernardo Silva, who just talk of leaving, does he make as big an impact in a midfield three as he would in the front three?
Well, when he's playing in the front three, Nathan, what he does is more dangerous because he can go past people. He's one of the few players that can go past people. But they do have Foden as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't sign Kane in time. He might well play in a centre-forward position.
Right.
I think he's capable of doing it. I think he's a very gifted lad, Nathan. You would see how Sterling goes. I mean, Sterling had a peculiar season last year.
Yeah.
I mean, he never kicked a ball from Christmas till the Euros, and then he really played for England then. So I don't know. There's talk in the paper that they might sell Sterling. Is not, but I'll tell you, he'd want to book himself up for City from the time that he played from Christmas till the end of the season. He was left out of the team. He was playing terrible. I don't know what's in his head or what's happening there.
Is that on him or is that on Guardiola, considering how well he played for England during the summer?
Well, no. Guardiola would definitely not leave him out of the team under any circumstances if he was doing what he was doing before Christmas, Nathan. Again, we don't know what happened there, but for some reason or other, from Christmas onwards, he didn't play. He didn't play well for City. I thought he was very, very poor for City, and I was amazed and surprised that he was in the first team for England in the first match. But anyway, then he played really, really well. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there, Nathan.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if Grealish, if he did play, they talk about a false number 9.
Yeah, where they played De Bruyne at times last season.
Yes, I think he could. I think Grealish could play anywhere, to be honest, and give you game. Definitely.
Looking at the title race overall, then Manchester City won the league pretty comfortably last season. They had a run of 14 wins in the middle of the season that sort of killed off everybody else. Are they your strong favourites heading into the new season?
I wouldn't be as strong as some people on it, Nathan. I think Man U should come into it now. Solskjaer's under pressure now. He's made 2 big signings. I think he has to come into it now. Chelsea under Tuchel, I'm not so. I think they're very, very good. They got the centre forward they need. I still think they're a little bit doubtful at the back.
Yeah, there were certainly several occasions last night in the Super Cup final where there were mistakes. Maybe it's early season mistakes, but there were a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, Rudiger, for example. Rudiger was at fault for. Well, he let the fella go for the goal last night. So I'm not so keen about them at the back. I think midfield forwards, if Lukaku does his stuff, which you'd expect him to do, I think that they definitely will challenge for it.
Okay.
Definitely will challenge for it. But I mean, City would be favourites, but they don't have, unless they get Kane back, they get him in, Nathan. I just wouldn't be too sure about them. I think Liverpool could be a good bet.
Okay. I know.
No fuss about them. They've signed a very good centre-half, Nathan. I can't think of his name at the moment.
Yeah, Konate.
Yeah, he looks a really good player. They got Van Dijk coming back into the team, and the Liverpool team should be the Liverpool team that we had the season before last.
That, for a lot of people, is actually the worry, it seems, for Liverpool, that the team of 2 seasons ago is 2 years older now, and that maybe that team had their time and that they haven't rejuvenated the squad enough, even though they brought in Konate and Thiago in midfield and Jota, that they need something else, that with all the signings that everyone else has made, that Liverpool have stood still a little bit. I
don't think so, Nathan. I mean, this is not an old team. If you look at all the players that they had 2 years ago, starting with the goalkeeper, the 2 fullbacks are excellent. They got Van Dijk coming back into the team. They've got the centre-half coming into the team. They got the lad from Wolves last year. Salah's not 30 yet. I think they could be if you consider Liverpool dark horses. I think they could be a real threat. I think it'll be a different Liverpool team to the team we saw last year, Nathan.
Right. What's the key for Liverpool then? Is it getting the energy levels back up? Is it playing with a bit of confidence? Is it having the crowd back at Anfield? What do they need? Is it just keeping everybody fit? Because last season was a catastrophe for long periods.
Well, I think last year, Nathan, they were poor at the back. You know, all the centre halves got injured, and they had Henderson playing at the back. They were conceding goals that they never conceded before, really. And I think that now with these two players coming back into it, Nathan, they'll be as strong as they ever were the season before last. I mean, you still got Salah and Firmino and all these lads up front. I don't think any of them are 30 yet, and they'll want to do it, Nathan, themselves.
Yeah,
they'll want to do it. That was a bad season for them last season, but I'd be surprised if Liverpool would be the dark horses at the moment.
What about Manchester United? You touched on the investment. It looks as though they've made two really strong signings that will improve the first 11 in Jadon Sancho and Raphael Varane. Are the two of them enough to bridge the gap? Are there still areas of the pitch where there might be question marks?
Well, there's always question marks, Nathan. But I don't really think Solskjaer is that good a manager, Nathan.
Simple as that.
Yeah, I think he's not a Klopp, he's not a Guardiola, he's not a Tuchel. He just isn't. And you need these guys to drive them along. And I think there's a lot expected of him now with the players that he's got in. I think the squad that he has now, is capable of doing it.
Yeah,
but he has to do it now.
I was wondering with Solskjaer, and he's clearly not one of those three managers, but is he perfectly suited for Manchester United in a way? And that there does seem to be a real calmness about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, that for all the club have gone through.
Too calm. You want Klopp to be getting at them, or Tuchel to give them a telling off, and demand more from them. That's what I think. You see Tuchel since he went into Chelsea. I mean, demands everything.
Right.
I think Guardiola does it in his own. He's a bit quieter, but he definitely demands everything.
Yeah.
And Klopp, there's no doubt. Klopp, I think they're scared of Klopp at Liverpool, and that happens with a lot of managers. A lot of managers like that. Some of the great managers. I mean, look at Fergie in his time. Shankly in his time. Jock Stein. I know for a fact the players were scared stiff of these guys. Busby had it in his own way. He was more gentlemanly about it, but there was no nonsense with him.
And you don't see a steeliness in the background maybe that we're not seeing with Solskjaer?
I don't see it.
Right.
I don't see it, Nathan. No, I think he has now a group of players that are capable of winning the Premiership, capable of winning it. But I think if Klopp or one or two other managers that Tuchel had the players that he has now, I would fancy them to have a better chance of winning the Premiership.
I know you said it a few times last season, a man who you wouldn't mind, you probably would be upset actually if he was Manchester United manager, is Marcelo Bielsa. We need to get a word on Leeds as well. Like, they wowed everybody at times last season. There was a bit of inconsistency there, but there were some sensational performances, and the energy that they brought to the Premier League. Can they back it up this season?
Well, sometimes it's more difficult, Nathan. Sometimes I'd be surprised if it happens with Bielsa. But if you see what happened to Sheffield United, for example, they finished, they were going for a European place, and then they got relegated. You have that second season syndrome, as they call it, where lads come up and they're scared stiff, coming into Premiership, and then they have a good season. I say, well, it's not as difficult as I thought. And then you have a bad season. It's not unusual. He hasn't bought many. I think he's bought one or two players at most, Bielsa, this season. But he's done one of the big jobs. I mean, coming up, the two teams that came up with him, I think, went down, or they were very nearly gone down. And he finished about 7 or 8 in the league last year, which was remarkable with the players that he has in relation to what Manchester United have as players. I think if he had the players that Manchester United have and got them playing in the way that Leeds played with the players he had, I think he'd be sensational with those players.
Yeah, there's a lot to look forward to. You might even get back to Elland Road this season.
Yeah, all being well, Nathan.
All going well.
It'd be nice to go back and see Eddie and a few of the lads that are left, Nathan. We'll keep our fingers crossed now that we'll have a better year this year.
Here's hoping,
next
John.
year.
Look, it's great to have you back for the new season. John Giles with us every Thursday night. We'll talk to you next Thursday, John.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan. Speak to you then. Bye.
All right, thanks very much for that, John. We will be back to John on the football show, which is coming up after 9 o'clock. We'll talk about Lionel Messi's move to Paris Saint-Germain and look ahead to the new Premier League season as well. But up next on this Thursday Off the Ball, we're going to be talking to Mayo legend Dermot Flanagan.